telling you they're uninteresting, they're vicious, they're vitriolic, they're really, really not good people. That quote could be attributed to the campus left as well. It could be attributed to people who are in charge in Venezuela right now. Anywhere where the left gets control, you start to see political correctness run amok. You start seeing dissenting views quashed. They use projection. Right before they do so, they start attacking the people that they're about to go after of being guilty of the very things that they do. That's why the dissent is patriotic meme was so hysterical during the during Bush's presidency, because whenever I would ask any of these people, can you name one person who has attempted to quash your dissent? And they would usually say...
The liberals.
The liberals would say that they couldn't come up with any individuals. They'd just say, you've got to be crazy, it's everywhere. Well, exactly where is that? Hollywood was taken over by the left, and they've never relinquished it. And in fact, I would argue that the right has abdicated its place in Hollywood. So I don't know who I have more contempt for, the left for its totalitarian behavior towards those that disagree with them, or the right, the conservative movement, for just allowing for it to happen and not to fight back. And the entirety, when the collective of Hollywood sends a message to the rest of the world that affirms the worst narrative about the United States, that only tells half of the story, or perhaps not even half of the story, it ends up having a net effect. You cannot get a film produced now that has Islamist terrorists. You can get movies produced. In fact, you see them all over the place, in which people of traditional values or corporations, American corporations, are the bad guys.
The entertainment industry contributed $47 million to political campaigns, $36.5 to Democrats, $10.4 to Republicans. So Hollywood contributes to Democrats over Republicans by a margin of about 4-1, which suggests that few thousand people who live down there on the coast of California and Los Angeles and environs exerts an enormous influence over one of the nation's great national parties.
What I find offensive in this system is that the conservatives that I know in Hollywood, and there are a lot, cannot give money because through a simple FEC search, their names will come up as Republicans, and then the word will spread around town that they're a Republican, and there is a strong likelihood that many people who would have ordinarily hired them will not hire them. Those people who donated as little as $100 were isolated.
Donated as little as $100 to the effort
to the tradition on behalf of the traditional marriage stance.
Right. The pro man and woman means marriage side.
Right.
Okay.
Religious people, Mormons, many from the black community, many from the Hispanic community in California voted this in. The gay left isolated those people. That happens all the time.
They put individuals' names up on websites.
Yes. At a more subtle level, that is what's been going on in Hollywood for years. I get phone calls all the time from major name actors fearful of retribution, that their politics have somehow been outed, whether it be from a donation that they've given or the fact that they were seen at a public or a semi-public event that could be attributed to the Republican Party.
All right. Segment 3, who?
Eventually, I started to see things through what I call the Democrat media complex. Before those sites became dominant and the mainstream media granted them an authority that they didn't grant the equivalent blog sites on the right, these sites are there to protect them from future Swift boat stories, to protect them from future Dan Rather stories, because these stories would start rising through the right-wing blogosphere, and people on the left were thinking, we don't want this story to make it to the mainstream media. That's what these people do in a very coordinated fashion with George Soros's money, with heavy coordination with the Democratic Party. They feed these people information. They feed them ideas.
So the bad stories get smothered on the internet before they make it to television.
Yes,
or the news.
yes. the right-wing blogosphere no longer has the ability to do what it did in 2004 before the coordinated online environment of the left became so successful. I need to talk about why talk radio works for the right and why it doesn't work for the left. It's a pretty simple, if you took away media bias from the equation, Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity's ratings would fall. The existence if the subtext of every single story is media bias. They're consuming the media and then they're analyzing and they're showing this is what they're saying, but this is what's really happening out there. And when you are on the left, when the media is so on your side, to try to pretend that the media bias goes the other way, you're going to fall on your face after 2 hours of doing talk radio. You can't do 3 hours of talk radio every single day saying that channel 360 out of 1,000 on your DirecTV dial is the bane of humanity. Big Hollywood begets big education next. We're going to do big race, big climate. We're going to do the group blog model. They accuse you of what they're doing to you. Hollywood makes movies about McCarthyism, about it was the worst thing that ever happened in Hollywood, or in the Cold War. That's their takeaway from the Cold War, that a few screenwriters, had to write under pseudonyms for a few years. That's not to take away. That's not to say that the blacklist was a good or a bad thing, but for the very people who for the last 40 years have been vicious to people who disagree with them, who exude behavior like that you see Perez Hilton doing against Miss California, when he calls her the B and the C word, and the media affirms that and makes her out to be the bad guy in that storyline. That's what the average actor, director in Hollywood has to deal with every single day. Once I started reading what true conservatism was, and that it wasn't Jerry Falwell's, autobiography, which is how the media portrays conservatism. But what I am obsessed on, and I'm granted a great perspective of media bias because of what I've done in the media, my relationship with the New York Times, the Associated Press, what is the traditional media, ABC, NBC, every single day paying attention to the text and realizing, oh my goodness, these people really are ideological, and they really are in control, and they really do mean business. There's no reason that we can't go back to an America that is self-assured and confident in our differences from those countries around the world. What I stand for politically is American exceptionalism. I just want those people to be able to make movies that affirm their point of view, and they can't right now. And when I see those people being able to do it without the retribution that you're seeing right now by the left writ large, I will not stop this crusade.
Right-wing blogger Andrew Breitbart dead at the age of 43. His death was from natural causes. Dead at the age of 43. Natural causes.